Well, if there were chariots found in the Red Sea, it would probably have something to do with the crossing of the sea.
There is a battlefield at the bottom of the Red Sea. This is not about just one shipwreck. It's about an entire Egyptian army. A recent high-tech dive has found what amateur explorers have long suggested: hundreds of chariot wheels, horse skeletons, and human remains, all preserved in coral. This discovery not only backs up an ancient story, but could also change it. Surprisingly, Egyptologists have not commented on it. The impact of this find is enormous, and the story behind it is even wilder. The $10 million secret expedition. In late 2024, a small team of divers, tech experts, and underwater history enthusiasts started a secret expedition. They got private funding of over $10 million, skipping traditional university grants and academic papers. Armed with top-notch equipment, they had advanced sonar, military ROVs with 4K cameras, and sensitive magnetometers to find metal underwater. They were not looking for old vases or rusty anchors. Their goal was to find something that mainstream science dismissed for years: Pharaoh's lost army from the biblical Exodus. For decades, there were stories about a specific spot in the Gulf of Aqaba, Red Sea, with coral-covered chariot wheels and scattered bones from the drowned Egyptian force. Experts laughed it off as fiction or a hoax. But this team had a map from various leads and the technology to prove or disprove the claims. They searched the seabed for days, using sonar to scan the depths. Suddenly, the operator saw strange shapes on the screen. These shapes were not random rocks, but perfect circles arranged in a long line. The team was amazed. It looked like wheels, hundreds of them. They deployed the ROV, a small underwater robot, to explore the area, diving hundreds of feet down. The ROV's lights cut through the dark water, revealing sand and rocks. Then, they saw it, a round object covered in coral. It was an ancient chariot wheel. The ROV continued exploring and uncovered more wheels. They found a massive wreck site stretching nearly a mile and a half. This find was too significant to ignore. Therefore, they assembled a team of deep-sea divers, many of whom were former Special Forces members, to explore the site. As they descended into the dark water, they realized the full scope of the situation. This was not just a single shipwreck, but a complete army disaster frozen in time. The seafloor war zone, chariots, bones, and a golden glimpse. Underwater, it felt like swimming into a frozen, chaotic battlefield. Divers found wheels scattered in the mud, some with 4 spokes, others with 6 or 8. This was surprising because these designs matched those of Egyptian chariots from the New Kingdom. The 4-spoke wheels were basic, while the 6 and 8-spoke ones were advanced, built for speed and stability, possibly even used by elite warriors or the Pharaoh. Seeing them all mixed was like a snapshot of an Egyptian chariot team that had met a sudden end. The wheels were just the beginning. The divers also recovered twisted pieces of metal that looked like axles and smashed chariot boxes made of corroded bronze and petrified wood, stuck to the seabed by coral. Interestingly, the divers felt a heavy dread as they explored, as if they sensed ghosts in the water. This wasn't just a pile of junk, it was a mass grave beneath the waves. Then they found bones among the wreckage, matching the old stories. There were hundreds, perhaps thousands of pieces. Some were horse bones, like skulls and ribs, in the right places, as if the animals were still hitched to their chariots. But the human bones were even more chilling. Backbones, hip fragments, and cracked skulls, all tangled together, as if the entire crew had perished in panic. This site was not just a gear dump. It was the final resting place for many soldiers and their horses, lost in a single, violent event. The most surprising moment came when a diver shone a light on a coral mound and spotted something shiny underneath. It was gold, faint but real, possibly a chariot wheel for a high-ranking general or even the Pharaoh. They couldn't remove it because the coral had a tight grip on it. Trying to pull it out would have destroyed it. The team took thousands of explicit pictures and hours of HD video because they realized they had found something significant. This discovery could provide strong evidence supporting one of humanity's oldest stories. However, it created problems for them. It challenged a century of established Egyptology. When they shared their findings with leading academics and institutions, they received no praise, just an eerie silence that spoke volumes. The underwater land bridge, the perfect crossing or trap. Why focus on this one spot in the Gulf of Aqaba? Here's why. It's one of the most unusual dive locations in the world. Like nature created a secret road just for this story. The gulf is deep, dropping 5,000 to 6,000 feet, more than a mile down. That's a wall of dark water. No one could cross it without being swallowed by the sea. It's an impassable drop. But right where the team found something special, there is a large flat area under the water. This underwater plateau is about 10 miles long, stretching from Egypt's Nuweiba beach to the shore of Saudi Arabia. It is a few miles wide, and its sides drop into deep water. But the plateau? It's relatively shallow. At most, it's only 900 feet deep. Sonar clearly shows this raised path under the water, looking like a submerged road inviting people to cross. This is the only place to cross in the entire 100-mile Gulf. Ancient people could not have made this up. And here's the surprising part. It matches the old story perfectly. The Bible describes the Israelites trapped at the sea, with mountains on one side and Pharaoh's army coming fast. Nuweiba fits. It has a big open beach, but cliffs on both sides. There's only one way in, and the only way out is straight into the water. And that's where the underwater bridge begins. The geography of the area is key, something no ancient storyteller could have known without modern sonar. You can't see it from above. It's deep underwater. Yet the story clearly points to it. This setup looks like a path that ends with a sudden disaster that happened right here. The artifacts, a line of wheels and bones, surround a submerged bridge, capturing a group that couldn't escape. At 900 feet underwater, this site acts like a time capsule, protected from storms and treasure hunters. Strong currents bury it in silt. Warm Gulf waters help coral grow on materials like wood and bronze, forming molds as the original items decay. Divers find wheel-shaped coral, which are actually chariot fossils. Without this depth and environment, these remains would have disappeared. This land bridge shows an extensive collection. Hundreds of chariots, horses, and soldiers packed into a 10-mile stretch with no way out. When the event occurred, it left a chaotic scene, with signs of mass panic. Those who say it's just a random wreck are mistaken. It's a fleet of military chariots from the same time, all lined up on the only path in the Gulf. This path was not a coincidence. It was meant to be there. The vindication of a madman. Ron Wyatt's story. This mind-bending story begins with one man, Ron Wyatt. He was a nurse anesthetist from Tennessee, not a famous professor or expert. Wyatt had a strong faith in the Bible and believed that historical evidence could be found. He spent his life savings and weekends searching for proof, making him an amateur explorer, and that's being generous. In the 1970s, Wyatt focused on determining where the real crossing of the Red Sea occurred. He dismissed the common idea of the Red Sea being shallow ponds in northern Egypt and pursued the Bible's clues about a deeper body of water. This led him to the Gulf of Aqaba and Nuweiba Beach, a spot surrounded by mountains. His reasoning was simple. If the Israelites were trapped there, the sea would part there, and Pharaoh's army would drown in that underwater area. In 1978, equipped only with basic scuba gear and a worn-out boat, he dove into the sea, driven by his faith. What he found matched what a professional team claimed to have discovered: chariot wheels covered in coral. He even found a hub. Although some called his blurry photos just odd-looking reef, he continued diving and found human and horse bones tangled at the site. His boldest discovery was a chariot wheel that looked shiny under the growth, possibly from a high-ranking official. When Wyatt shared his findings, academics quickly criticized him. They called him a fraud, accusing him of dreaming up his discoveries. They labeled him as a pseudoscientist obsessed with religious fantasies. Other claims he made, such as finding Noah's Ark and the real Mount Sinai in Saudi Arabia, only further damaged his credibility. To professional archaeologists, his explorations were mere delusions. They dismissed his discoveries about the Red Sea. For over 40 years, the site has been considered a myth, a mix of conspiracy theories and coral. Wyatt passed away in 1999, and people still laugh off his claims. However, he left behind maps and specific coordinates for the underwater bridge and wreck site he identified. A new team is spending $10 million to explore Ron Wyatt's claims about an ancient wreck site. They are using advanced sonar and high-definition cameras to check his findings. Their data confirms the existence of a land bridge, structures resembling wheels, and even bones, challenging the doubts people have had about Wyatt for years. One theory holds that a volcanic eruption about 3,500 years ago triggered a massive tsunami. This tsunami created the right conditions for the Israelites to cross the Red Sea. As the ocean pulled back, they saw the land bridge. But when the wave returned, it overwhelmed Pharaoh's army. Wyatt's claims about the Ark of the Covenant might also connect to this event. Some believe the Ark had advanced technology that allowed Moses to part the sea. The combination of volcanic eruptions and sound technology could explain the miraculous events described in ancient stories, suggesting that science can help us understand these myths. Why the silence? Egyptologists frozen in disbelief. Many Egyptologists remain silent about clear evidence for the Exodus in the Bible. This silence isn't just disbelief. It stems from denial and fear of losing their jobs. For over a century, they have taught that the Exodus didn't happen on a large scale. They claim there is no proof in the Sinai desert of 2 million people wandering for 40 years, no camps, graves, or everyday items. Egyptian records lack information about a lost army or any sudden disappearance. Recently, a dive team found a significant shipwreck site with hundreds of chariots, wheels, and bones from the New Kingdom era at a crossing point in the Gulf. This matches the Exodus story closely. This discovery threatens the beliefs of those who insist the Exodus is a myth. A professor who has spent decades arguing against the Exodus cannot readily admit, "I was wrong." Doing so would ruin their career, mislead their students, and discredit their research. Instead, they may choose to dismiss this evidence, discredit the findings, and label it as unproven or pseudoscience. They demand high-quality proof for this discovery while ignoring their own shaky theories. Those in control will defend their views because if one theory crumbles, many others will follow. Additionally, if this site shows that Pharaoh's army drowned during the Exodus, it would support a significant miracle from the Old Testament. This could have major implications for Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, showing evidence of God's influence on history. This discovery could challenge secular beliefs and threaten governments that reject the idea of God. It could create a significant power shift. Influential people often remove threats rather than address them, which can mean hiding the truth. The evidence is vanishing. A race against time. This story becomes urgent and a bit spooky. Ron Wyatt claimed he found a chariot wheel he called a 4-spoke beauty, possibly belonging to a pharaoh. He took pictures of it and reported it to Egyptian officials, expecting excitement. But then, it vanished. There was no museum display, no recognition, and no pictures in the archives. This is essential evidence that could confirm that everything has disappeared. Skeptics laugh and say, "We told you it was fake." But what if Wyatt was telling the truth? What if someone hid it away, like the Ark in Raiders of the Lost Ark? There is more to worry about. Recent sonar images from a 2024 team show differences compared to Wyatt's maps and photos from the 70s and 80s. Some areas that Wyatt marked as necessary are now empty. Is this just nature after 3,500 years? Perhaps, but drag marks on the seafloor suggest something was taken away, which looks like human activity. More than 40 years after Wyatt's discovery, has someone been quietly removing evidence? The area is fragile, with coral and bone fragments eroding under current action. The greater danger may come from people with their own interests. Experts are stuck. They are worried about their careers and reputations built on the idea that Exodus, it's a myth. If they accept that Wyatt was onto something, it could ruin their careers. It's easier for them to say, it's unverified, or just erosion. They want to protect their status. But what if this is about something more important? If the site is real, evidence of the Pharaoh's army and biblical events, it could support beliefs in Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. In a world with many beliefs and conflicts, that's a threat. Such proof doesn't start debates. It gets hidden away. So, is this the world's most significant discovery, or a 40-year hoax? If it's true, who fears it enough to cover it up? Share your thoughts in the comments. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell for updates.